Welcome back to Knockout Analysis presented by Cronio Media. It's been a minute, but we're back. Had some things that we had to figure out. We had to, as some of the comedians would say, we had to learn to love this game again. It was not that serious, but we just had to take a little bit of a break, get some things figured out, but we're back now. We're actually going to be treating you good people with a double header here. We're going to knock out two birds with one stone. We have UFC Fight Night Allen v. Costa this weekend. We also have MVP MMA 1, the first ever Jake Paul MMA card. There's some pretty decent fights on there, so we're going to touch on just a few of them. We're not going to bother spending time with the whole thing because there's a whole bunch of people on there that we don't care about, nor do we need to care about because they're so far away from the UFC that it's like me trying to look into Australia's eyes right now. It's just not happening. I can't see it. That being said, we'll move straight into the first fight we're going to talk about. This one we're dubbing the Cronio Media Knockout Analysis Fight of the Night on MVP MMA. We have 8-9 former UFC fighter Chris Avila facing off against 16-11 former UFC fighter Brandon Jenkins. What an absolute clash of records. What an absolute clash of fists. Chris Avila has some pretty big boxing wins against some pretty good strikers that are still fighting in the UFC, a la Jeremy Stevens, and he also beat Anthony Pettis in a boxing match. Brandon Jenkins has a little bit more questionable of a record, but his two UFC losses, I think, were to better opponents. Just my opinion. I think that Chris Avila is going to find a way to land a shot in here, maybe in the second round, and drop him. But we're not, like I said, we're not spending too much time talking about this first fight. This is more of just like a little gag fight that we're just having fun with because of their records.
Yeah, I mean, it's two journeymen. Yeah, Brandon Jenkins has had some time in karate combat fairly recently. Didn't have a whole lot of success there. It's just a matter of if Chris Avila can close the distance with his hands. I mean, I'm going to favor him because he is the younger guy by a year, and I think he's beaten better guys recently, even if it was just in boxing. It seems like he has some pretty good hands. If he can stay away from the kicks, I think he'll be fine. I don't see this fight going into the ground unless it's for like a club and sub type situation. So give me Chris Avila, man, the 8-9 fighter tonight, or on Friday night or Saturday, whenever this card is.
I think it's on Saturday as well. Could be Friday,
Indeed.
though. It looks like it's on the 16th, so the Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
We will be there.
We will now move to the next fight that we would like to touch on in the MVP MMA card. What would have been one of the best fights you could have made was ruined by visa issues for Muhammad Makayev. So now we have Adriano Moraes facing off against Pumi Nukuda, a Peak FC champion. Adriano Moraes, if you're unfamiliar with him, he is a one championship fighter, a pretty decent one at that, and also, I think, the only person to knock out Demetrius Johnson. So that is definitely a sight to behold and a nice thing to have on your resume. So that being said, I don't really see a path to victory for Pumi here. I think just based off of better competition, I think Adriano Moraes is probably going to win that fight. I don't know if he finishes it, but I think if he wins by decision, it's going to be rather convincing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going to echo Kron to some extent. Yeah, Nakuda is younger, he's undefeated, but he hasn't been in there with killers. Adriano Moraes, he's a legend in 1FC. He's probably one of the best fighters to go through there. Kind of disappointing he never was able to make it over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's, 37 now, so it's probably never going to happen. Usually flyweights, once they hit that age, they start to decline a little bit. He's lost 3 out of his last 4. 2 of them were to Mighty Mouse, So there's not really any shame in that. But I do want to point out the competition strongly. His last win, Nakuta's was against a guy that was 9-7-2. I mean that's kind of says all that needs to be said. These regional scene fights are just kind of eh. You're fighting a lot of jobbers and you're coming up and you get a lot of confidence. And then you get in there with an absolute killer and a legend like Adriano Moraes, who has been in many 5 round fights with the best of the best. We don't have a line for this fight quite yet, but I assume that Adriano is going to be a decent size favorite. And I'm probably going to agree with the line. Give me Adriano Moraes.
That'll move us into the next one on MVP MMA 1. We will have Junior Dos Santos facing off against Robelis de Spain. Junior Dos Santos has not really fought an actual MMA since 2022, where he lost via shoulder injury retirement. He's done a couple bare knuckle fights for Gamebred FC MMA, otherwise known as what's his nuts Jorge Masvidal's um, bare knuckle MMA promotion. Former UFC champion is Dos Santos. He has a 15-8 record in the UFC. He's still scary based off of just size alone. I mean, 6'4", 265, 77-inch reach. He's facing off against Robelis de Spain, who is a freak of nature when it comes to size. He is 6'7", has an 84-inch reach. He was also in the UFC where he went 1-2. He lost to Austin Lane. Shout out Jacksonville Jaguars, if I do remember correctly. And shout out Waldo
Indeed.
Cortez Acosta. You did lose that fight to Volkov. I don't care what the crybabies on Twitter say. That being said, since then, Robelis de Spain has reverted to karate combat where he has not lost and he just brutally knocked out Sam Alvey in December to take the title for the heavyweight division there. Not really sure what's going on completely with Karate Combat. Not sure if they're still around or what their deal is, how long they'll be around or whatever. But he chose to go with MVP MMA promotion instead of a title defense in Karate Combat. So we'll see what he has to offer. I think, based off of the fact that he's 42, there's a pretty good chance that Dos Santos could get knocked out here. But I'm gonna pick him to turn back the clock here, and I think he floors the Spain.
Yeah, I mean, this line's absolutely absurd. I know it's Junior Dos Santos. He's older, been in a lot of fights, didn't have a great ending to his MMA career. He got injured and then he lost to 4 fights before, but they were all the decent levels of competition. Yeah, Robelis de Spain got absolutely controlled by Austin Lane, and I think that's Austin Lane's only win in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I just don't see a world where Despain doesn't get taken down. Like, yeah, Robels could end this in 8 seconds with a straight punch, and he could look like it should have been him all along, and he could make us eat our words. But I don't know, man. I think DeSantos is gonna do it. Yeah, the karate combat is somewhat impressive, but you don't get taken down in karate combat. And that tournament that he won, the heavyweight tournament, was very unimpressive event in general. Andrew Glenn's the worst combat sports official in all of the world. A lot of early stoppages, but Rebels did power through and win that. Beat Sam Alvey. Junior Dos Santos, I think, is about as good as anybody that Rebellis has faced, and he has championship pedigree. The takedown's there for him if he chooses to use it. I think that he's going to win this fight in dominant fashion. Give me Junior Dos Santos, late TKO.
That'll move us to the next one. Arguably the one that people are most excited for, Francis Ngannou versus Felipe Lins. Francis Ngannou, obviously we all know him from boxing, from his I'm gonna probably trigger a lot of people here. From his fluke knockdown of Tyson Fury, it was not a real knockdown, but he lost to Tyson Fury. He was knocked out and folded like a absolute Dollar Tree lawn chair by Anthony Joshua. Um, in the UFC, he went 12-2. I've never been a huge fan of Francis Ngannou. I'm going to be quite honest with you people. I think he's, again, I've made this comparison before with Taliesin Teixeira. I think he's a Deontay Wilder type. He has zero technique. He just hopes and throws as hard as he can to try to catch you with something. And if he doesn't catch you with something, he gasses out. And that's when he loses fights to Stipe. That's when he loses fights to Derek Lewis. People that can take his punches and know how to get out of the way of his punches. Because, I mean, it's really that simple. There's no technique behind what he does. It's just straight stand here and I'm going to try to knock your head off as hard as I can. I don't think he's a very good fighter. A lot of people will disagree with me. Some people think he's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He has a good record. He had the championship belt, but I don't agree. Um, Looking on to his opponent, Mr. Felipe. Felipe also spent some time in the UFC. He was there for about 4 years. He had a 4-2 record. He is on a 4-fight win streak. He most recently fought on the UFC 299 O'Malley versus Vera 2. The knee hurt around the world on Vera's chin. Hasn't fought since then. Went out with a win and decided, I guess, to just take this fight. I don't know. It looks like maybe Witt can confirm or deny this. It looks like he fought in the UFC at light heavyweight.
Indeed.
Yeah. So he fought at light heavyweight. Now he's made the move up to heavyweight. So, as Witt has alluded to many times, maybe the lighter man's skill takes its play here. And I don't know. I really, really want to pick Felipe here. I just don't know if this is the guy to beat Francis Ngannou. But I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna take him anyways. Give me Felipe Lins here by unanimous decision.
I mean, I wish I could sit here and agree with Kron with any integrity I have, but I can't, bro. I mean, Francis Ngannou at this point is just looking for money fights and fights that are going to be very easy for him. Felipe Lins is a serviceable, decent fighter. I don't believe he was ever ranked in the UFC. He had some impressive wins, not a whole lot by finish. He's pretty technical on the feet. But what makes Francis Ngannou great is that his grappling is very, very good at heavyweight. And I think that's going to show very early here. I don't think Ngannou is going to get sucked into some war. You know, I could see a club and sub, but I also just see him taking him down. And yeah, there's not a lot of guys that aren't signed to a contract that are going to come out here and try to fight Ngannou. So shout out to Lens for doing it. If you want to make some comparison, even though this happened many moons ago, Vadim Nemkov, who is probably on the level of a Francis Ngannou, went out there and finished Felipe Lins in 63 seconds. I see this fight going about the same way. Felipe Lins is much older than he was back then. He's been inactive and out of the cage. To be fair, Ngannou has as well, but he seems to be in great shape and to be training for some sort of money fight like this that can get thrown his way. You know, I know both of these guys are getting paid handsomely, and I don't understand why this is even a 5-round fight. You know, it's not for any titles. They're just doing 5 rounds for shits and giggles, knowing good and well that this fight probably won't hit round 2. Give me Ngannou. I'm gonna take him by sub.
That'll move us to the next one. We have Nate Diaz facing off against Mike Platinum Perry. Let that sink in, folks. What a get by Jake Paul for this, to get this freaking fight. Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. These guys are scrappers. We know it to be true. Nate Diaz, his combat sports over the past couple years has been a little questionable. I mean, he lost to Jake Paul in a boxing match. He beat Jorge Masvidal in a boxing match. He beat Tony Ferguson via guillotine on Tony's 17 fight losing streak. Uh, he lost to Leon Edwards in 2021 via unanimous decision. Nate Diaz has been in the UFC for a long time with some absolute killers. He did what most famously submit uh, Conor McGregor, and then immediately got pieced up and dominated by Conor McGregor in the next fight. He's fought Anthony Pettis, Jorge Masvidal, this, that, and the third. This guy's been in there with real killers, and it's really hard to discredit any of that. That being said, his opponent, Mr. Mike Barry, or Perry, my fault, he did just beat in 2025. He beat Jeremy Stevens in a bare knuckle boxing match by knockout. CTE Speedrun Stevens is what I'm going to start calling him, because this guy just tries to get knocked out and submitted as much as he can. In his last actual MMA fight, he lost to D-Rod, the Felon, on UFC on ABC2 in 2021. So he fought in the UFC for 15 fights and had a record of 7-8. So I mean, he's been in there with some killers too. I just think in their whole career line, Nate Diaz has had to fight the better competition. I don't particularly see a finish in this one. I do think there's a chance that uh, Nate Diaz might be able to get a sub in there. So I'm going to pick it. I'm going to say a fourth round submission for Nate Diaz. Give me an RNC.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with Kron on this one. Nate Diaz has at least been talking about coming back to the UFC and fighting some dudes. So I believe he's been in the gym to some extent. Mike Perry has been doing his bare knuckle shit, which has been, he's kind of like the Mount Rushmore #1 guy in bare knuckle. But, and if it were a bare knuckle fight, I'd probably be picking Mike Perry because it's just kind of what he does. But Nate Diaz, he's much more well rounded. I believe he's fought for a title. He's fought the best of the best. I'm really just kind of in agreement with Kron on this whole entire ordeal. I don't know if it's going the distance. I mean, I'm leaning towards it going that way. I don't see these guys finishing each other. No pause. But I just think there's going to be a lot of emoting and aura maxing at range. I don't think there's going to be a lot of volume in this one. There will be violent exchanges, but I just think these guys are just kind of here to entertain for this inaugural card. And I think it could be one of the, probably the most, what am I trying to say, competitive fights on here. So give me Nate Diaz. I think he's going to eke out a decision, and he's going to say some crazy shit on the mic like he always does.
That moves us to the pinnacle. The whole fight that this card was built around. Ronda Rousey, 12-2 record, facing off against Gina Carano, 7-1 record. Ronda Rousey 6-2 in the UFC. She was absolutely starched as she tried to defend her title for the 7th time by the preacher's daughter Holly Holm by a brutal head kick that knocked her smooth into CTE stardom. And then she immediately had to fight Amanda Nunes after and was absolutely starched by Nunes in 48 seconds. She has not touched an octagon since then. That being said, Gina Carano, would Raw next question, whatever you want to ask, it's a yes. She was in Elite XC 4-0. She has not touched a fucking octagon since 2009, where she lost the first round buzzer beater knockout to Chris Cyborg. Before that, she had never lost. This is an absolute mythical pool of a fight for Jake Paul to get, and it seems like they're trying to hand feed Ronda Rousey a victory, and to that I say, fuck that. Gina Carano, you go out there, you grab her by the head like this, dribble her head off the canvas. I don't like Ronda Rousey. I never did like Ronda Rousey. If she could do a spinning wheel kick like Mauricio Huffy, that's what I would want her to do to Ronda Rousey. I hope that she gets knocked out brutally but doesn't suffer any brain damage because I don't wish that upon anybody. But I hope that her face is a bloody mess, but there's no structural damage forever because I don't want that for anybody. But I hope that she gets knocked out brutally, suffers no brain damage, and has no structural damage to her face but is bloody. And I hope that she loses in the first round.
See, man, it's tough to follow up. See, man, your uncle, your uncle's friend who hasn't watched any MMA for about like 15 years or 10 years, however long it's been since Ronda's been back, he's gonna be having a watch party. He's gonna have like 330 racks of Michelob Ultra, and he
And
is going to
Bapples.
be wearing like a yes, and Bapples. He is gonna be wearing a tap out shirt and glazing Ronda Rousey probably this whole entire week, bro. And that's probably not the last time I'll say it this year with the potential Conor McGregor fight coming up. So let's pay attention to that. But to the matter at hand, I saw this stat earlier. It's crazy. I had to look it up and just verify it while Kron was going on his rant about Ronda Rousey, which I totally agree with. I watch the Amanda Nunes Ronda Rousey fight about once a week if I'm in a bad mood, and it immediately lifts my spirits. So Max Holloway, right? Everybody knows him. He's had an incredibly long career. His first MMA fight as an amateur was November 25th, 2009. Gina Carano's last fight was August 15th, 2009. This man has had his whole career since Gina Carano's last fight, dude. I mean, it's just the craziest thing I've ever heard, man. I mean, I I don't think either of these ladies have been training very much. Ronda's been doing her acting in her WWE. She hasn't been training MMA. Gina Carano's been acting. She hasn't been training MMA. I think this is an even fight. I don't think either of them really care. Jake Paul just said, "Hey, we'll pay you seven figures to show up and do this shit." I mean, like Kron was alluding to, this seems like they want to give Ronda Rousey a free win before she rides off into the sunset and does it whatever she wants to next. But I really hope Gina Carano comes out here and becomes the people's champ. I mean, at plus 400, if I was a gambling man, I'd be licking my chops at that line because there's no way in hell Ronda Rousey should be a minus 550 favorite in the year of our Lord 2026. I mean, she could go out there and just steamroller an arm bar, which is her only move. But I think Gina's going to be prepared. I think she's going to be training with the best trainers in the world. And I think she may be more well rounded in more ways than one. I mean, I'm just taking Gina Carano here. I think she's going to go out there. I think she's going to throw a big meaty overhand, and she's going to fold Ronda Rousey in the first round.
That'll move us into the next event, which is UFC Fight Night Allen versus Costa. We've got 13 fights to get through. We'll try to do it as quick as we can. Let's start off with the first fight of the evening at 115 pound in the ladies division. We have Nicole Cagliari with an 8-4 facing record facing my Pookie Bear Shauna Bannon with her 7-2 record. OnlyFans model cited alert Shauna Bannon. Shauna Bannon, most recently, I remember her from the Pooja Tomar incident where she was starched with a right cross and submitted her from the bottom because Indians can't grapple, they can't fight at all. So, ask that one dude that Killian Saul killed reverted back to his homeland. Um, two and
And
two
she'll
record.
jubilee.
2-2 record for Shauna Bannon. I don't see any path to victory for her opponent here. Give me Shauna Bannon here. I think she wins this fight, but it's no finish. I think it's a decision.
I mean, this is the first of two very low level women's MMA strawweight fights on this card. I mean, it's about as bad as it gets for both of these. Nicole Cagliari, I mean, she got folded by Carly Judice, which Carly Judice has kind of been the boogeyman of the strawweight division right now, so I won't shit on her for it, but
I will.
only losses so far. Only losses so far for her. Shauna Bannon is a mother of children, and yeah, she did have the Puja Tamar that I remember vividly as I was driving back across the states. You know, she has the Alice Ardeline victory, another super low-level fighter that we're about to talk about. Um, so she has the wins. She has the experience. Um, she fought twice last year. I'm going to take Shauna Bannon. Now, this is betting advice. Do not bet on this fight. Do not bet on women's MMA that is this low of a level. If you really want to and you're an absolute degenerate, take Shauna Bannon because both of us picked her and she is the dog. But
If you really
low
want
level women's
to, and
MMA,
it's that much of an
no.
urge for you, please call the fucking hotline.
That's great advice as well. If you have to bet on Shauna Bannon and Nicole Cagliari on a Saturday at 4 p.m.
Like, this fight's not winning you 8-ball money, motherfucker. You can call the hotline. That'll move us to the next one, where we have Daniel Barres facing off against Luis Garul at 125. This is a very intriguing matchup as well. We got the Spaniard here, who has a 1-2 record in the UFC, coming off of a loss in his last fight to Witt's absolute Pookie Bear, Andre Lima. His opponent, Mr. Luis Garul, coming off of 3 straight losses, 1 by knockout, 1 and 2 by decision, one of which was earlier this year. Luis Garul, you're not cut out for the UFC, buddy. I really hate to be the one that has to break it to you. Give me Daniel Barres here by whatever he feels like doing on that very day.
Yeah, Daniel Barres has absolute hands, and this is my I don't really understand it line of the card. Yeah, Daniel Barres should be a pretty sizable favorite here. I've kind of been the Luis Garul's biggest hater. You know, if you look back at other episodes and cards he's fought on, I've never picked him, and he was a huge favorite against Aguilar, huge favorite against Osborne. And if you really just go back and watch the Nick Piccinini Contender Series fight, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about with him. The guy does nothing at all. He was just able to wrestle a former Oklahoma State wrestler and pretty much eat Nick Piccinini's pitter-patter shots. He does nothing that really stands out. He's kind of just a guy. He's fairly durable, but I just kind of see him as a bag that it has competent level grappling. You know, I don't think he's going to take down Barres. Barres' kryptonite is the grappling, but Luis Garul isn't going to go out here and sub him. Barres is going to absolutely piece him up. He has, like I said, great boxing. He's going to dominate this fight on the feet. He's going to keep it there. I see a very early finish here, man. I see him accumulating damage throughout the first round and maybe gets a finish late first, but I think it's going to go to the second. That's where he'll get his finish, and that'll probably be the last time we see Luis Garul in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have the aforementioned Elise Ardeline with her 11-7 UFC or MMA record, facing off against Poliana Viana with her 4-7 UFC record. I really am disgusted by the fact that the UFC's women's divisions are so ass that we have to keep people with 4-7 records in them. That being said, I hope these two knock each other the fuck out and they both can't fight anymore, or they both fight to a draw and they both get cut. Get them the fuck out of the UFC.
I mean, somebody has to win this fight and somebody has to lose it, bro. That's all I'm really going to say.
Yeah, they can win by getting each other out of the UFC, and we're the losers for having to watch it.
I mean, dude, look, who the hell is Mallory Martin, Emily Whitemeyer, and Jin Yu Frey, bro? I've never heard of any of these people, bro. Like these people are no longer a part of the sport. She's lost to every decent fighter in
Half of them
dominating
probably
fashion.
garden. They probably
I
have a
mean,
garden.
they probably have a garden. You know, Ardeline was once 9-7, bro. She's won her last two fights against fighters. I think she is going to once again win a fight against an fighter. This fight's going to decision. If there is a finish, I mean, good for them. Maybe they'll get another contract. But
Yeah,
I think
that'd be
Alice
fun.
Ardeline's going to do this. She's a minus 190 favorite. Don't bet on this fight. And as Kron said, if you want to, call the number.
Please. That being said, we will move on to the next one, where we have Philadelphia bum Andre Petrowski facing off against not Philadelphia bum Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage, he showed some heart in his last fight card there at UFC 326. He still lost to Dante Johnson, but he showed a little bit of heart. One of the judges gave him the fight. Unfortunately, the other two did not. Neither did I. He's 5'8", 1-1 in the UFC. Still got that weird ass record. I do not realize how he is still in the UFC at this point. But the same could be said for Andre Petrowski. I don't care that he has an 8-4 record. He lost to Edmund Shabazian, not a bad loss. Got absolutely hornswoggled by Cam Ralston, not a bad loss. The people that he beat, I don't care if they're good, they're not good for this instance right here because I don't like them. So that being said, I'm gonna shock the world here. Give me Cody Brundage. I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking the underdog by first round knockout, and we have to extend Cody Brundage hate watches because this is going to make it to where he gets another fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, put a gun to my head and say, bet on Cody Brundage or die, or pick him or die. I'm probably dying. 9 times out of 10, unless he's fighting. Who's that dude he beat, bro? That I picked him against many moons ago. He won the fight too. It's yeah, Julian Marquez, bro. Like you have to be a different tier of jobber for me to pick you to lose to Cody Brundage, man. And that's what Julian Marquez is. I mean, you look at his fights, bro. I mean, yeah, cool. You beat Trayshawn Gore, who's had a little bit of a resurgence. Beat Azimabakov. We'll see how that ages. I mean, Daniel Gluto, however he pronounces his name. I've watched a few of his fights with the sound off. That's why I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's not very good either. Jacob Malkoon, yeah, he was getting pieced up by Jacob Malkoon, and then Jacob Malkoon punched him in the back of the head and got it disqualified. Mickey Mouse win. Zachary Reese was a slam knockout victory, which I also think is just Mickey Mouse for the sake of it being Cody Brundage. If it was somebody cool like Elijah Smith who actually has skill, I would say it was not Mickey Mouse. You know, got subbed by Mo Nickel, and he just lost ever since. Like, yeah, Cam Ralston's really good. Dante Johnson's super overrated. That's really what that last fight proved to all of us. I mean, Cody Brundage, he has power and he has decent grappling, and he answers the phone whenever the UC calls every single time. I think that's the main reason why he still has a job, but he's going to have to start winning fights, and I just don't really see how he's going to do it come Saturday night. You know, I think the odds on this fight are fair. I think Petrowski is around a minus 200, but, you know, I think Petrowski trains with really good guys, you know, Joe Pfeiffer, Sean Brady. He's in the gym right now, probably getting in some extra reps, while Cody Brundage is, well, figuring out how he can get punched to the back of the head so he can get a disqualification win. Give me Andre Petrosky. I think he's going to win wherever this fight goes. I could see him controlling him on the ground. I could see him piecing him up. Cody, uh, honestly, I hope this isn't the last time that we see you and we get to talk about you because I do enjoy this, but it probably will be. Give me Andre Petrosky by decision.
That'll move us into the next one where we have 15-5 phenomenal Ketlin Vieira with a 9-5 UFC record. Lost her last fight to Norma Dumont. Missed weight and beat Macy Chase on the first time or in 2025 in May. and then lost to Kayla Harrison, who was now the champion before that. She's facing off in this one against Jacqueline Calvacanti, facing or fighting out of Portugal. She's 5-0 in the UFC. Truthfully and honestly, I don't see any reason why she would lose this one. Give me, I mean, every one of her UFC wins has been a boring ass decision. So let me just go ahead and add to that. Give me a boring ass, I'm falling asleep and not seeing any rest of the card decision for Cavalcanti.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna hear a compliment from me. I mean, Jacqueline Cavalcanti is actually a decent fighter, respectable. She trains. She doesn't carry a lot of excess weight. Yeah, I mean, I think she could be the
Doesn't
future of
have
the
an
bantamweight
OnlyFans.
division. Doesn't have an OnlyFans, the most important trait. Yeah, all decisions. Nora Cornhole's a decent win. Myra Bueno Silva is, I think she's cut now. But yeah, I mean, she's fighting Caitlin Vieira. A lot of Cavalcanti's wins have been against women's fighters that are just kind of on their way out. I think that's the case for Caitlin Vieira. She's a kind of a win one, lose one kind of fighter. If you're superstitious, you might pick her to win because she's never lost two in a row. But I think Cavalcanti is younger. I think she has a bigger reach. I think she's a lot more hungry for bigger fights than this one. And I think she's going to go and she's going to have a decision. And Kron is probably going to have to take a walk in order to not fall asleep for it.
That'll move us into the next one. Where Wick can correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears we have two fellers that may be making their UFC debuts.
Correct.
First one's going to be Tommy Gant. He won by guillotine in his Dana White Contender Series fight. He's coming in with an 11-0 record. He has 10 finishes in his 11 wins. Um, he's facing off against another undefeated fighter. You know what they say, somebody's O's got to go. Fighting out of, I am pretty sure that, yeah, that is a Ukrainian flag. So we have Artur Maniev, the headhunter. Uh, 6 of his 7 wins are by knockout. Also making his UFC debut out of Fury FC, where he fought earlier this year. This one's probably going to be an interesting fight. Has potential to be a good fight, maybe even fight of the night in these guys' first fight. Let's give it to him. A prelim card gets fight of the night here, and I think that Tommy Gant wins by decision.
Yeah, Tommy Gant's really good. I really want to give Artur Maniev the war-torn country advantage here. You know, it's always a crafty move here on knockout analysis. But I went back and watched the very short contender series fight that he had. He looked really good. I mean, it's very hard for me to put a lot of stock into the contender series guys this year because there was a bunch of not level matchmaking. They were bringing dudes out of like bar fights in order for the UFC to manipulate the guys that they wanted to bring in. So I don't know, man. I don't know how good Adam Livingston is, but he looked good against him. Tommy Gant's older. He looks to be in great shape. He looks to be incredibly hungry. Maniv has to come across the country to, or maybe he lives here because, like Kron said, he does fight in Fury. But I see this being a good fight. Two really good gyms. I think this could be a contender series type of war in which two guys go out there and scrap. I don't know if there will be a finish. I'm not going to take a finish here. Give me Tommy Gantz by decision here. Looking at the line, though, I mean, Maniv, I wouldn't take him. I mean, I wouldn't pawn him to be a plus 200 favorite. If I was gambling on it, I'd want the line to be closer if I'm picking up Gant. But either way, just give me Gant. Values on Artur Maniv, though, if you're gambling. But Tommy Gant, I'm going to take him with his wrestling pedigree and all-around game that I'm much more comfortable with.
That'll move us into the next one. where we have Tukatokos, the Brit, facing off against Ivan Ursan. As far as Tukatokos' UFC record goes, he's 1-2. Competition is as follows: Umar Sy, who's had a couple big fights as of late. Navajo Sterling, who still has yet to lose and actually just got his first finish. And Junior Tafa, who he beat via arm triangle choke. Junior Tafa's absolute ass. However, I did in fact correctly predict his last fight. Uh, I told Whit he would win by first round knockout.
Indeed.
Um, Facing off against Ivan Ursulan, Tukatokas has definitely been the picture of controversy here on Knockout Analysis. Ivan Ursulan fighting out of Croatia, 14-6 record. He's 0-3 in the UFC. Got rear naked choked, or I prefer the term face crank, by Jimmy Crute. Also lost to Navajo Sterling, lost to Jan Cutelaba. So he has three pretty decent fighters that he's lost to as well. Jimmy Crute is on a tear right now. 2 wins in a row, both by finish. So this one's going to be an interesting one. Not really sure how it's going to play out. I'm going to just make a judgment call here. It's neutral ground territory here. There's no home field advantage in this one. I'm just going to take, I know it's going to be split, but I'm taking Tukatokos here, my decision.
See, I could see Tukatokos resorting to such tactics that he did against Navajo Sterling, in which he was wall installing whenever he realized he was absolutely outmatched in the striking. Every fight Tukatokos is in, man, at light heavyweight, he looks like he's in a lower weight class. I mean, this guy, yeah, he's 6'4", but he looks tiny, bro. Like, I don't really know how to describe it. Like, he needs to cut some weight and go down to 185. He's just kind of like a wall and stalk type guy. He pawns himself as his grappler, trains out of Kill Cliff. And yeah, Umar Sy went out there and strangled him very quickly. A loss that hasn't aged the best. And Navajo Sterling pieced him up, won all 3 rounds, out-grappled him in the second round as well in his UFC debut. And Navajo Sterling, as a lot of people know, is a kickboxer type fighter. And whenever Sterling's taking you down and out-grappling and your only area of success, it's not really a great sign. And Junior Tafa, man, I mean, he's just a white belt, bro. Him and Robel Despain having a grappling match would be one of the most entertaining grappling matches ever. It'd be one to behold for sure. Somebody needs to make that happen. Maybe Jake Paul will here in the coming months. But Tukatokos, he's going to be trying to shoot for the legs. Ivan Arslan had success against Sterling. I believe he won the 3rd round of that fight. Sterling was wrestling him, and he ended up gassing a little bit, and Ivan found success in the boxing, which is the best part of his game. He has good, crisp hands. He's training in Coconut Creek out of a American Top Team. I believe he's trained in Croatia at the ATT out there before as well, so he's been a part of this team for a minute. He looks absolutely jacked. I do follow him on Instagram. Shout out Ivan Arslan. He looks ripped. He looks like he's going to be the much bigger guy in this fight, much more physically fit guy in this fight. And if Tukatokos is going to take him to the ground, I think Ivan's going to be able to move him a lot easier than Tuco could possibly. I mean, I think Ivan, if he's in boxing range, I think he's going to be able to land the punches he needs to in order to win this fight. You know, before Jimmy Crute submitted him very quickly, Ivan was landing good strikes. He was landing good strikes against Navajo, landing good strikes against Jan Cutelaba. You know, I could see all 3 of those guys having a ranking next to their name at some point or another. So I'm not going to shame him for being 0-3 so far in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I think Tukatokos is not really UFC level, to be quite frank with you. Ivan Arslan, I think you're going to get your first victory, big dog. Give me Ivan Arslan by First round KO.
That'll move us to the next one. We have Nikolay Veretennikov, the Gladiator, fighting out of his native Kazakhstan. 2-3 in the UFC. Won his last fight against Nico Price. Take that for what you will. I think half the fucking UFC is won against Nico Price. He's facing off against Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams is 6-4 in the UFC. Lost his last two in the UFC. His last win coming against Carlston Harris by a right hook knockout. Not really confident in Mr. Chaos Williams' ability here. Give me Veretennikov here. I think he wins the decision. 29-28.
Yeah. This is a very interesting fight, you know. Chaos Williams is kind of just a tank build, you know. He has crazy power in his hands, and well, that's really it. You know, his anti-grappling is decent unless he's going up against a Gabriel Bonfim. You know, Gabriel Bonfim has choked out a lot of guys. No pause. But Carlson Harris, Bedoya being your last two wins, and him not being the most active of fighters, it's just kind of, it brings up some red flags here, you know. I know he had two fights in 2025, lost both of them. I just don't really see him being able to go against the walking paradox that is Veretennikov. Veretennikov does not have a great grappling edge against anybody. I don't see Chaos Williams shooting a takedown whatsoever. Veretennikov also suffers from having horrible fight IQ. Almost threw away that Francisco Prado fight on the Holloway Poirier card. I remember watching that and being like, what the hell is this guy doing, man? He threw like 10 spinning kicks and was getting taken down on a lot of them, but he's then able to scramble and land enough damage to win. Soriano's a problem. That's all I'm going to say about him. I think Veretennikov, even though he's a little bit older, I think he's hungrier. He's super active. He has had 4 fights in the time span that Chaos Williams has, and he has 2 wins. Even though it isn't against the best competition, I think Nicolay is more technical. I think he's going to be aware of the power coming back at him, and he's going to be able to avoid it. You know, maybe I'm giving him a little bit too much credit there, but give me Veretennikov by decision.
That'll move us on to Timmy Twilight Kalamba facing off against Bernardo Sopaj. Kalamba has 5 wins by knockout, 5 wins by decision in his 10-3 record. That being said, his opponent, Sopaj, the Lion King, 12-3 record himself, 7 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 1-1 in the UFC. He lost to Vinicius Oliveira. He beat Ricky Tercios. 2-2 record in the UFC for Kalamba. This fight I'm not too invested in, but give me Kalamba here. I think he wins by split decision.
Yeah, Bernardo Sopaj has comically short arms, man. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about him. He is a decently talented fighter. He is the flying knee victim of Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. I know if you're watching this, you've most definitely seen that highlight. Kawamba, man, at one point, this guy was pretty much dead in the water until he moved down to bantamweight. I mean, based off of his frame, I think that was the right decision. And if you lose to Lucas Almeida, man, I think you're just kind of in panic mode. I mean, that's like one of the worst guys to lose to at featherweight. He's looking to have a little bit of a resurgence here, you could say. He's 2 back-to-back wins. But, you know, I think Bernardo Sopaj, I think he's crafty. He doesn't hit very hard, but I think he is crafty. I'm going to favor him to win this one here, but not with too much confidence. The Ricky Tercios fight was a little bit closer than a lot of people expected, myself included. I expected him to go out there and be a little bit more dominant than he was. Like, yeah, he was 30-27 on 2 cards, but Tercios looked live at many points throughout that entire fight. But I think Bernardo. I think if Lucas Almeida can go beat Timothy Kawamba, I think Bernardo Sopaj won't have any trouble doing it either by decision. Give me Bernardo Sapage by technical masterclass. And looking at the line for this bad boy over here, if I can find it, yeah, Sapage is a minus 155 favorite. I think that's fair considering where they both are. Sapage is tiny, but I think he's a little bit more technical than a Timmy Kawamba. Give me him by 30-27 decision.
That'll move us into a rarity for the next one. Modestas Bukauskas and Christian Edwards fighting at 215 for the light heavyweight here due to a late step-in replacement for Christian Edwards. Modestas Bukauskas has a 7-5 UFC record, facing off against Christian Edwards, who's making his UFC debut. Bukauskas, obviously, we know the sidekick to the knee that took his knee out, went on a winning streak, lost to Vitor Perino, went on a winning streak, lost to Nikita Krylov earlier this year. He's facing off against Christian Edwards here. Christian Edwards coming out of Bellator, 5-3 record. His last fight earlier this year for Shamrock FC, he won by second round knockout. Don't care. This guy's not really. I mean, he's an Oklahoma fighter, so it is what it is. I hate to have to go against the Oklahoma fighter, but uh, Modestas Bukauskas um, due to better experience.
Yeah, Christian Edwards, Oklahoma's own. I'm afraid we're both going to have to fade you on this one. We don't have odds for this fight, but I expect Modestas to be a very large favorite. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at these losses from when he was in Bellator at a 3-fight losing streak to end his stint there. He lost to a Rakeem Cleveland, who was 22-15 at the time, by a standing 10-finger guillotine choke. And no, that's exactly what it says on Tapology. And then he lost to, yeah, I mean, he's just not fought the best competition. He's lost to Rakeem Cleveland by a standing 10-finger guillotine choke. I just don't see, I don't see how he's going to go out here against Modestas. Modestas fought guys like Mr. Edwards and Cage Warriors when he was making his come up, probably guys that were better than him. I mean, this just seems like a great opportunity for Modestas to get back on track, win this fight, and be able to take another one here pretty quickly. I see an early KO here. Modestas is going to pick his shot. He's going to be patient. He's not going to be jittery. He's not going to get enough firefight. He can really fight the fight that he wants, his low output fights, and find a lot of success landing a big shot here. You know, I was really surprised that he was landing on Nikita Krylov and Krylov wasn't going down. I thought Krylov's chin was absolutely done, but Modestas tested it, and I guess Nikita was doing some Russian neck exercises in between fights. But give me Modestas here, first round KO. This fight's kind of a foregone conclusion in my mind.
That'll move us into the next one where we have Malcolm Wellmaker facing off against Juan Diaz. Malcolm Wellmaker famously was stopped in his tracks by Ethan Ewing in his last fight. Got dominated by a late replacement. He's facing off against Juan Diaz. Juan Diaz fighting out of Lima, Peru. He is making his UFC debut after winning on the Contender Series last year via spinning back elbow. Malcolm Wellmaker certainly is not getting another layup. He thought he was getting one with Ethan Ewing. Not happening. Juan Diaz is a dog. Juan Diaz by knockout.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been the highest on Malcolm Wellmaker. I didn't think he was going to go out there and beat, who was it, Cameron Simon. He did. He landed pretty much the only punch in his arsenal in that fight. I mean, that's the same thing he did against Chris Moutinho. And Ethan Ewing, in the 4 days leading up to their fight, he was like, well, I don't really have to study for this one because I watch fights and I know what this guy's main weapon is. You know, he trains at a small gym out in Georgia. He's older. Juan Diaz has a lot of fights under his belt. He's younger. I think he knows exactly what Malcolm Womaker wants to do here. You know, it's really not a secret. He wants to land that hook and he wants to put your lights out. His grappling is okay. It's good enough. But I just see Juan Diaz doing his thing. Lux Fight League, I've watched it a few times. Not the best promotion, but to go out there on the Contender Series and look fairly decent, go out there and get a win. I mean, I put that I put some money. I put some stock into that right there. Give me Juan Diaz by technical performance. I think he's going to be able to piece up Malcolm, kind of, and follow the same game plan Ethan Ewing did. Yeah, Juan Diaz by decision here.
That'll move us into the co-main event of the evening. Doo Ho Choi facing off against Daniel Really Cat Santos. Doo Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy, 5-3-1 record in the UFC. Landed elbows from Crucifix on Nate Landwehr in his last fight, which was in 2024. Looks like this fight was supposed to happen late last year, ended up getting canceled, so now it's happening now. Uh, he fought to a draw against Kyle Nelson and knocked out Bill Algeo. His opponent, Mr. Willie Cat Santos, uh, fighting out of Brazil. He is on a current 4-fight win streak, and he's got two fucking Koreans that he just beat back to back. Why not a third? Give me this guy, the Korean Slayer, Willie Cat Santos, by knockout. First round. Fuck him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight I'd like to pick for fight of the night, but I don't think it's gonna be long enough to do so. I mean, Willie Cat
Performance of the
Santos. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely gonna get a bonus. I mean, Willie Cat Santos. We're huge fans of him here. I think he's very underrated at this point. Like, yeah, the Julia Arce loss in his debut looks bad, but that was years ago, man. He's put that behind him. I mean, he had a 2 year stretch of being inactive, but since he's came back, he's looked very good. Young Lee, that was a great fight. He went out there and took him to the decision, and then Ju Sang Yu was one of the most hyped prospects, and Willie Cat Santos made easy work of him while Ju Sang Yu was trying to emote and get the crowd involved. He's a really good fighter. Doo Ho Choi, also a really good fighter. I don't think he's a scrub or anything. I mean, I looked into his inactivity from 2019 to 2023, I guess, in South Korea. There is a mandatory military service that you must do, and that was why he took time off. But even then, dude, he hasn't really been super active. He went to the draw with Kyle Nelson, and he had 2 fights in 2024, and we really haven't seen him since. Pieced up and dominated Nate Landwehr, which is not aging all too well, to say the least. Nate Landwehr hasn't looked the same or won a fight since. Bill Algeo, I mean, yeah, everybody kind of knows the story on Bill Algeo. Eh. He's fighting an absolute dog out here. A guy that's been married to the game, constantly training with guys like Charles Oliveira up at Shoot Box. Give me Willie Cat Santos. I expect him to be able to get a knockout around the second round. I think they're going to be feeling each other out, no pause in the first, and I think Willie Cat's going to find one of his spinning attacks and get the knockout.
That'll move us into the pinnacle event of the evening, where we have Arnold Almighty Allen facing off against Mel Clizael, the Dalmatian Costa. Mr. Allen's 11-3 in his UFC career. He's 2-3 in his last five. His fights are as follows: beat Calvin Kattar via, looks like, retirement from injury. Lost to Max Holloway via decision. Lost to Movsar Evloev by decision. Beat Giga Kachadze by decision. And lost to Gene Silva by decision. Not a bad little resume there. Melquizael Costa, 5-0 in his last five. Beat Andre Fili. beat Christian Rodriguez, beat Jillian Erosa, knocks out Morgan Sherrier by head kick, knocks out Dan Ige by spinning back kick. That's what we like to see. Melquizael Costa is an absolute dog. Give me Melquizael Costa here to win this fight. I think he knocks him out. I think he does it in round two.
Yeah, I mean, I see a possibility of it. He's already knocked out, I think, two guys back to back that have never been knocked out. Charrier, I don't think was ever knocked out before. I know Ige was never knocked out. You know, it was the first time Charrier had got knocked out, and that was a fight that I believe Melchizedek should have won a performance bonus for. I mean, maybe it's just me. You know, they had one of the best knockouts of the year and didn't get any sort of bonus for it. I think that's kind of bogus, Dana White. I'm talking to you. Um, but Melchizedek Costa, guy I've like, I don't know, I've faded in some spots, but he finds a way to win. You know, I didn't think he'd beat Andre Philly. Made it easy work of him. Made it easy work of Christian Rodriguez, Julian Erosa. So that fight was a war. I think that's kind of some of the best he's ever looked. And, you know, the back kick, as Kron mentioned recently, I mean, that was impressive. Danny Gay really kind of ducked into that one, but nevertheless, an impressive finish. I mean, where I think this fight is going to go Arnold Allen's way, though, is Arnold Allen is a very, very, very good boxer, and I haven't really seen it much from Melchizedek Costa. Does this guy have Canelo hands like Bilal Muhammad, bro? I don't really know about that, man. His kicks are really good. They seem to be very strong. His jiu-jitsu's fair. I mean, Arnold Allen has great jiu-jitsu as well. He's very good in the grappling. It just depends on how hard his kicks really are. You know, I think we're going to find out. Arnold Allen's made of steel. I mean, didn't get finished by Bless Holloway or John Silva. John Silva is one of the most decorated finishers right now in the sport. And he is the first guy in his last, how many? Yeah, in his last 6 wins, Arnold Allen's the only guy that Gene Silva didn't finish. So all that tells me he's incredibly durable. And people forget, Arnold Allen took a round off Gene Silva as well in that fight, in that first round. Gene Silva, he used his high fight IQ to be able to figure that out and ultimately get the victory.
By
I
high
mean,
fight
this,
IQ, we mean autism.
indeed, autism. Melchizedek, man, this will be far and away the best guy he's faced. You know, Danny Ige is kind of a gatekeeper. Like, are you worthy of fighting one of these top 10 guys? I think he most definitely is with his win streak. But Arnold Allen, man, I think he could still have a title run in him. He's young. He's in his prime. He's ready to take fights. There's a 5-round fight as well, which I think we should all take notice of. I don't think Melchizedek has ever had a 5-round fight. He might have trained for one during this championship fight here that I'm seeing on ESPN, but he's never went the full 5, and Arnold has. Arnold's going to be ready. His cardio is going to be good. I know he's lifting weights with his dad. I know he's hitting the bag. I've seen him landing some good combos here, and I think this fight is going to go to decision. Excuse me. Give me Arnold Allen, 49-46. I think he has enough in the tank to get it done. I think the minus 155 line represents that pretty well. You know, with the streak that Melchizedek Costa's on, Arnold shouldn't be way too big of a favorite. But give me Arnold by 49-46.
That'll conclude this episode. A little longer one than we usually put out, but like I said, we're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with that. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you guys check out our videos on YouTube. Mr. Barnes usually has them up as quick as he can. So be sure to check them out. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And again, like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you guys in the next one.